Hey guys, I saw the movie Get Out last weekend, and I just wanted to give some of my thoughts on that movie and what I think the social commentary on that movie is. Because I think it's really an important piece of social commentary that the film does. First of all, I thought it was a great, thrilling, standalone horror movie. I think it's going to be a future classic horror movie, and it's a huge accomplishment to Jordan Peele for coming out with the film. He's the first black movie director to come out with a movie debut of over $100 million, and that's amazing. That's amazing. That's so cool. Awesome job, Jordan Peele, but slow your roll. You're making us all look bad.
You've been making us all look bad. I'm sorry, sir?
This movie was made for $4 million, $4 or $5 million, and it made over $100 million already, which is really an accomplishment, especially when you consider a movie like The Room was made for $6 million. I mean, that's crazy.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
So the plot of the film is that the main character, Chris, is going to meet his white girlfriend's parents and family for the first time.
You got your toothbrush?
Check.
Do you have your deodorant?
Check.
Do you have your cozy clothes?
Got that.
What?
Do they know I'm black?
Should they?
You might wanna,
Mom and Dad, my black boyfriend will be coming up this weekend. I just don't want you to be shocked that he's a black man.
This is an area where Jordan Peele really is getting the writing correct in this movie, because if the social commentary had nothing to do with the plot itself, it would fail. He is making the fact that it is the protagonist's investment in his relationship that hinges on whether or not the trip will go well that makes the social commentary work. In other words, the social commentary that occurs is integral to the story and the motivation of our characters. So the social commentary has to do with well-intentioned white liberal people who are unknowingly being racist. They're trying to be anti-racist by doing things that are specifically favorable to people of color.
Call me Dean and you hug me, my man.
So how long has this been going on, this thing?
And the reason that this is a form of racism is that it's basically singling somebody out based on the color of their skin. There's a lot of really cringy scenes in the movie where the protagonist is singled out for the color of his skin. Horror movies have not always been the best venue to make social commentary on. Take examples like The Purge, and especially I think the most cringiest is probably the second segment from Creepshow 2. Boy, oh boy, that was a misfire.
Friends my eye.
No. Hey, you're not alive, man. You can't be alive.
So he goes to his girlfriend's parents' house, and he encounters a bunch of really cringy white liberal racism. At least that's what appears on the surface. But spoilers, it gets really malicious soon after that. And by the way, this video is going to have spoilers.
We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go.
But he encounters really cringy remarks made to him of white liberal people trying to kind of prove to him that I'm not racist. I'm not racist. If I could vote for Obama for a third time, I would. And I'm telling you this specifically because you're a black person, and I have to tell you specifically. And that's what the whole movie is about. Is about singling people of color out based on the color of their skin is racist, no matter who does it. Liberal people, conservative people. And the reason that I like the movie so much is because if I'm going to take a good hard look at my own past, I gotta say, I'm not proud to say this at all, but there have definitely been times in my past where I wasn't trying to be rude, I wasn't trying to be racist, but I have done the cringy things, some of the cringy things that are depicted in this movie, trying to treat a person of color more favorably because they're black in order to make them more comfortable. And I need to look at myself and examine that and try to change that. And I think a reason why this movie is so important for like liberal people like myself is because wouldn't it be more constructive for people, individuals, to look at their own flaws first before they go and fire off criticisms of somebody else? And it's really easy to do that now, especially in the state that we're in now, where a lot of more extreme forms of racism are being brought to the forefront. And that's really bad and that's really awful. And some more extreme forms of racism are even getting normalized more and more. And that's terrible too. But normalized racism in any form is still bad and it's still racist. This movie does a good job of doing a critique of that. It takes the cringy racism of white liberals and brings it to life or death stakes. And it kind of asks the viewer, if this cringy racism had stakes that were higher, life or death, wouldn't we be more disgusted by it? Wouldn't we be more on top of trying to rid that form of racism too? And wouldn't we pay more attention to it and really treat it like the racist behavior that it is? The stakes in day-to-day life appear to be pretty low, appear to be it results in an awkward situation, but really it's just normalized racism. Obviously I'm not black, so it's not like I can say this for certain that this is what the film is about, and based on the fact that I know what the black experience is about, I know to say this. That's not really why I'm making the video. I'm making it because I know that I've done these cringy racist things, cringy under the radar racist things, like mostly when I was in middle school, when I was younger, and I can say didn't know any better, but the fact is I probably did learn this at some point in my life. And one example is I had a black friend in middle school, and we were really good friends. We're still friends. But in middle school one time, out of the blue, I was just talking to him, and I just went and touched his hair for no reason and didn't ask him to do so. And it's like, I wouldn't do that to a white person, you know? I didn't think about it consciously, but if I'm really being honest with myself, and looking back, I can say that, yeah, I did that. There's an interview with the artist The Weeknd, who had a very similar story. He said he was at a Hollywood party and he met Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift was just giving him all of these compliments, like, oh, I love your original mixtape. Really saying all the ways that she admires him. And then out of nowhere, without asking, she just goes and touches his hair. And at the time, he had this very specific, striking, unique hairstyle. He said the hairstyle was inspired by Basquiat. But even so, that's not appropriate, you know? And he talked about how it made him feel so awkward, but he just couldn't say anything. But saying I would vote for Obama for a third term, that's in the movie. Oh, what do you think is the black experience is like for you? And just singling out somebody based on the color of their skin. You think that it's a good thing when a well-intended white liberal person who is doing these cringy racist things thinks that it's positive because it's, oh, I'm including you, and yeah, I want your voice to be heard. I want your voice to be heard in a specific package, the criteria of which is determined by me. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to tell me within the framework of this question. And wouldn't the most anti-racist thing a person can do is honestly just shutting the fuck up and letting somebody talk and listening to that person talk and not worrying about I must have the final word about it. An example of not shutting the fuck up and just letting the other person talk and letting the other person have the final word is the email exchange between Tilda Swinton and Margaret Cho. This is a perfect example of this. Now, Tilda Swinton specifically emailed Margaret Cho, and she was like, we should have a discussion about this. I heard you had a lot of criticisms about my role in Doctor Strange. If you don't know the story, Tilda Swinton was cast as a character who in the comic books was an Asian person, and Tilda Swinton was cast instead. And she did this email exchange with Margaret Cho, and she was very cordial and everything, and she recognized Margaret Cho's point of view and everything like that. And by the way, the email exchange is on there on the internet in its full glory. But what she did was she defended Disney, she defended herself every step of the way. And Margaret Cho would just be like, well, I think this is a form of whitewashing, form of discrimination. She would say why. And Tilda Swinton would acknowledge all those reasons and then go on to say, but I have to defend myself. And the point is that if you really want to hear somebody's point of view, sometimes, I mean, what I think going forward is like, why not just shut the fuck up and just let the other person speak and let the other person have the final word, especially if what you really want to know is what is your point of view. Well, if you want to know what the other person's point of view is, shut the fuck up and just let them have the final word about it.
Oh, is this your story now? This has happened to you and not to me? Well, listen up, everybody. He's about to tell his amazing story. The one that happened to me and not him.
I'm sorry. You got it.
Are you sure I have it? Are you sure that since it happened to me, I should be the one to tell it? Oh, well then, yes, I thought I did.
And Swinton didn't do this. And, yeah, Margaret Cho complained about it later, and I think rightfully so. And I think that's the same kind of racism that is being commented on in Get Out, is white people disguising their need to get validated and their need to get absolved of racism, disguising that as empathy and disguising that as what is your point of view. A white, well-intended liberal person wouldn't do that to one of their white friends, so the fact that they do that to a friend who's a person of color is racist because they're treating the person of color differently based on the color of their skin. It is empathy gone awry. When I say empathy gone awry, I don't mean when somebody's so empathetic that when somebody else is sad, they feel so sad as to have it diminish the quality of their own life. That is something else, and that's not what I'm talking about when I say empathy gone awry. I'm talking about self-aggrandization disguised as empathy. And again, I'm not saying this because I know this experience from a black person's point of view. Then I would be guilty of the very thing that I am pointing out that white liberal people do. No, I'm saying this from experience because I have done this. I have done this in my past. I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud of this at all. But I have done the thing of acting like I am empathizing with somebody, but I'm really co-opting their pain. I'm co-opting their pain to make myself feel better. And I think that's the stem of the racism that well-intended white liberals do. Think about a couple, a man and a woman. The woman is pregnant and has to go through the pain of childbirth, an experience totally unique to being a woman. Now, the man who is her partner, for him to say, I'm going to be supportive for you throughout this, whatever pain you're going to go through, I'm going to try to be there for you, is totally appropriate. But for the man to say, I know what pain you're going through, is just not true. It's inauthentic empathy. And sometimes that's what well-intended white liberal people do, is they say that they're being empathetic, but they're actually co-opting the pain of the cultural injury of the other person and wearing it as their own. Rachel Dolezal might be an extreme example of this. She went so far as to say, yes, I know the pain that you've gone through. I know the pain of the black experience. I know the pain of the black experience. In fact, I am black. It's like going so far with it that it's like the only way I can really empathize with you and be supportive of you is if, I'm black. Yeah, you know what? I am black.
I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
And that's what happens in Get Out as well. The white people are literally putting their brains in the bodies of the black people and in the movie, and thereby displacing the ability for the black people's own point of view to get expressed. I think it's such a well done metaphor. There's so many great metaphors, and again, this is just my opinion, so I don't know if this is really his intention, but that's what it seems to me, is that this whole movie is a giant metaphor for this kind of white liberal racism, and it's this empathy gone awry, where it's actually displacing the point of view of black people of color, instead of being supportive of. Jordan Peele has mentioned how it was a very different America at the time that he made the movie as opposed to when it's coming out. But I think it's even still relevant today, especially because politics today and conservatives versus liberals are so battling against each other, so divisive against each other. And shouldn't we be trying to find common ground with each other? Shouldn't we strive to live in a world where individuals are looking at their own flaws first and trying to fix their own flaws? Maybe it would be more constructive to really actually examine ourselves first and say, what ways am I being racist? How can I change that about myself? So those are my thoughts on Get Out. And I know this is kind of a serious discussion, and I hope that I treated it with care, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please like if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos. And thank you so much. Have a great day.